for joining me tonight. What's up? This is Tom Froming, aka TF Twins, and this is Twins Ticket. We back. Twins back. Correa back. Back on the stream for a live show for the first time in a very long time on one of these proper live streams. I've been doing some live stream earlier today when the news broke. But just in case we got replay watchers here trying to figure out if they're going to stick around. I'm going to give you a real quick look at some of the stuff. We're gonna go through some hard hitting stuff. This isn't just going to be kind of an unstructured discussion on what's going on. We're going to really dig deep into some of the contract details. We're going to dig deep into some of the impact. That's what a lot of people ask that question. What does it mean for this guy? What does it mean for that guy? What does it mean? I think it's hilarious. I think we get the biggest signing. We get the biggest signing in Twins history, basically. Pending physical. You're going to hear me say that a lot. You're going to hear me say that a lot tonight. Pending physical. Happy Correa Day, everybody. But we're going to break it all down. We're going to talk about the impact. Again, so many people, even though this is such a huge news item, so many people are so curious about what happens to this guy, what happens to that guy. We're going to touch on all of that stuff tonight. I'm really excited. To be here. Really excited about the Correa news. Really just excited. Having such a good time on the channel this off season. Look, I'll be honest though. I'm going to be honest because you guys have been watching. I wasn't having a very good time with all the Correa drama unfolding. It was just like a drawn out saga. That's not my jam. That's not my. Give me something concrete to react to. Again, pending physical. Maybe we'll just stop that bit there. Of course, it is pending physical. Of course, the Giants thought they had him, the Mets thought they had him. But I think we have reason to be more confident. The Twins, he passed their physical. Obviously, he was on a different contract, but he passed their physical last year. They gave him a pretty somewhat thorough look over in October, not to the degree at which they're doing now. But certainly they know Carlos Correa. They know what they're getting themselves into. Thanks everybody for showing up. Am I wearing pants? I am wearing pants. I am wearing pants. I mean, if I wasn't live streaming, I might be enough sheets to the wind where the pants would be off by now. But also wearing my $6 Carlos Correa jersey. I don't know if I can actually show you without knocking all my equipment over or anything. But what a time to be alive indeed. We got him. It happened. Now my clearanced out Correa jersey was a great investment of my $6 at Dick's Sporting Goods. I heard they only have mediums left there, though. It is the old style, though. I know some people who always got to have the new stuff, ripping on me because I got the Casota Gold, not the new style. I don't even know if they have the new style jerseys out there. They put out the authentics first. Anyway, I promised that we would stay on topic to some degree. A lot of people. Yeah, Shayla had a nice. I think she got a much more official looking, much nicer actual jersey clearanced out, and was bragging about how a wise choice it was a little ways back. And of course, man, has that turned out to be quite now potentially a 10-year investment here. So I'm going to pull something up. We're going to do some Q&A later, but I want to do this first because. I'm kind of more of a visual person, and reading a lot of the contract terms and language, I got a little confused over especially the final potentially 4 years and what those meant and the numbers. So I put something together. Some things did already change a little bit. So we know now a little bit on this. So I'm going to pull this up, kind of put myself to the background. I'll be leaving this up for a while we talk through it. Unfortunately, I can't see the chat while I have this up, so I'll get back to you. You can chat amongst yourselves, absolutely, but I'll get back to you once we kind of go hack through this. Now, after I put this together, I did see in an Aaron Gleeman article, we do have the breakdown of the guaranteed part, which is over here on the left. Guaranteed. This is the only thing that's guaranteed is 6 years, $200 million. I just originally put it evened out through the 6 years. That is not the breakdown that it's going to be. It's going to be slightly front-loaded. He'll get $36 million each of the next 3 seasons. So 23, 24, 25, he's getting $36 million, 31.5 in 2026, 30.5 in 2027, and 30 in 28. So, nothing too crazy. It's still pretty evenly distributed, a bit front loaded. But that's the guaranteed part. And that was sort of the easy part to comprehend. Pretty nuts that I think this is $150 million less than what the Giants were about to guarantee him. Pretty insane. And then again, there's some vesting options that I was kind of having a hard time wrapping my head around. So I had to throw them in a spreadsheet and kind of break them down to make sense of them for me. And I do want to mention, I have this down here. All this information is based on reporting by Jeff Passan, Ken Rosenthal, Dan Hayes, and John Heyman. And if I misinterpreted anything, I'm not saying I perfectly interpreted all this, but I tried really hard. Again, I love baseball, but I don't always love the contract stuff and all this stuff. Sometimes I can get confused. If anybody sees something I omitted or that needs correcting, other than I know the breakdown's not quite perfect. Other than that, please let me know. And I also have by year his age. So even just the guaranteed part, he's only going to be 33. That is completely reasonable. And then we have these vesting options, which, we hear option or opt out with Correa. You think, oh boy, here we go again. No, again, in the other details, I have that there is no opt outs. Carlos Correa cannot opt out of this contract at any point. He does have a full no trade clause, but I think that is fairly common when it comes to deals like this. So these are not options in which like Carlos Correa can opt out of. These are vesting options. So we'll take it year by year. Basically, if he has 575 plate appearances in 2028, this contract year will be vesting. He will get this contract year. However, this was a detail from Dan Hayes, which I think is super key about these years and this contract in total. If he doesn't reach these thresholds for plate appearances, it's not as if he just becomes a free agent. No, at that point, the ball is in the Twins' court, and these are basically team options. So if they say, oh, okay, you didn't hit the vesting option, but we're still going to pick this up. We'll pay $25 million for as a 34-year-old in 2029 money, baseball salaries are going to continue to escalate. That's obviously a lot of money. We're talking about a lot of money on all this stuff. That's obviously a good amount of money, but it's not very difficult for me to envision a 34-year-old Carlos Correa being worth $25 million, either way. But again, if he doesn't reach these plate appearance thresholds each year, the Twins can get out of the contract. So there is a ton of flexibility here. Obviously, the biggest thing whenever you're signing any free agent, that taking on some years at the end of a player's career, they're more than likely going to, decrease in value as time goes on. But you're more paying for the player now. And really the thing that also Carlos Correa is still a very young free agent. There's not that many, even though this is his second round technically in free agency. That's still 28 years old. He's entering his age 28 season. That's still a very young free agent. So a nice upfront. I feel like the front load, it's a lot of money they're going to be paying him. Again, it's not this even distribution. It is $36 million for the first 3 years and then a little bit less for the last 3. It's a lot of money. It's a big investment. Clearly, in Twins money, it's almost unbelievable to think that they would sign a guy to a $200 million contract that can max out at $270 million. But at the same time, I mean, there's risk. There is obviously risk. I'll pull myself back up here. I can bring that back up later if we want. I don't want to make it sound like there's no risk. Clearly, there's risk. This is a guy who 2 teams opted not to sign. There are medical professionals way smarter than I am who clearly saw something of a concern. But I've been saying this I said this morning when I was talking about how it was potential. All right, quick sidebar. No Buzz Killingtons here. Okay, you want to say a little piece about, you want to drop in something that you don't really like the deal, you don't think it's a good payment, fine, whatever. Save that garbage for tomorrow, though. You want to put in one comment or have one little side conversation, whatever. Let everybody who's here excited, having a good time, do that, is what I will say. We in Twins Twins Twitter, Twins YouTube, Twins Universe, Minnesota sports fans. Okay, we do not get this often. Okay, we do not get this often. This is once, this is a huge opportunity. This is a huge thing to savor today. And I know there's a lot of people here that aren't want to hear that garbage. I don't want to hear it either. We'll discuss that. I was just about to get into that. There's risk. There's certainly risk. We're not just going to completely shut our eyes and just be blindly faithful to everything that's going on here. But this is an incredible thing to have happen as a Twins fan. And not just for the Twins. I think a lot of the times people are negative about the Twins, lose sight of the fact that Andrew Benintendi just signed a contract with the White. That's the biggest contract the White Sox have ever signed for Andrew Benintendi. There's a lot of teams that don't spend a lot of money. And I think on top of that, it's a good contract. Again, though, if you are concerned, valid concerns, if you think it's overpaid, whatever, I'm not saying that that's not a valid discussion point. I'm saying save it till tomorrow. I don't want to hear it today. I'm just being honest with you guys. I'm just being honest. And I feel like I've been, I did a video giving the front office an F for free agency. So it's not like I'm saying I've been some kind of bastion of positivity throughout this whole thing. If anything, I've been the opposite, which is why I'm so in such a good mood today. But clearly there is concern over that ankle or the leg, clearly. But I've been saying it all along. I said it this morning when I was saying he's probably going to go to the Mets. They seem to want him. He seems to want to go there. I even said it then when I kind of basically thought the Twins weren't going to be landing him, that the ankle, this whole injury doesn't really bother me. It's an old injury. He had surgery when he was a prospect, had that plate put in. It's been in there the whole time. He's never been on the injured list because of that leg in his entire major league career. It just, again, I'm not some kind of medical professional that can determine these things. When it comes to throwing, or especially like a 13-year contract, it's a bit of a different conversation than a 6-year contract. That's for sure. But I'm really not that. I'm not going to be Doomsville about that. I'm just not going to. It's a legit concern. I'm not going to worry that much about it. So again, there is definitely a risk. There's definitely risk for the Twins still. This is a lot of money to guarantee to somebody over a lot of years, especially in Twins terms. But a 6-year guarantee compared to like a 10-year or a 13-year guarantee, it's so night and day. And they really didn't have to go out of bounds for the average annual value. Basically, they didn't have to overpay him up front, kind of like they were doing before too much. In my opinion, especially considering some of these other contracts that are being signed. Again, there's the money in the game right now is just insane. These teams are getting tens of millions of dollars before even a single pitch is thrown. There's so much money coming in from the TV deals and all these baseball media, BAMTech sales, and just crazy revenue sharing. So many opportunities for these owners to make money off baseball that it's good to see the Twins putting more money into the team. And I think, we'll see what happens, but I think this is a sign that they're going to kind of continue to push where they are in terms of payroll. And I had that. I don't know if it was on this slide. It's another slide. I believe their projected payroll for next season, I think is around 151. Which, I think it's around 142 last year. We'll get to that in just a minute. So I think they will continue to push. So I don't think it's like they need to fit this 30 whatever into the framework of what they've been doing, what they've traditionally been doing. I don't think they're going to continue absolutely completely push the payroll out to like their normal is going to be $30+ million more. But I think there's going to be some movement to where, they're going to be able to afford Carlos Correa, basically. And let's get to my second point here. And I do want to linger on this just a bit more, because I do think I don't want to completely jump into what happens now. I saw a ton of that today. And I think it's only natural. We have a lot of guys on the team currently that we are invested in that we like, or prospects coming up. Or there's always a domino effect, and people are just curious about what's going to happen. But I do think, I do want to sort of put that message forward of like, we got to soak this in a little bit. We got to linger on this for a minute, pending physical. We got to linger on this for a minute and just enjoy what's been going on, and also just kind of reflect on how insane this whole saga has been. Again, I didn't pay as close attention to it as a lot of people because I just got tired of it. And I just got tired of it and was like, oh man, every day it's Correa this, who's coming in, who's coming out. This team's going to sign him. This team's not. Twins are back in it. They're not in it. It's just crazy. And, with so many rumors and things, you never know if it's the agent floating stuff out or the team floating stuff out to try to sort of gain some traction one way or another. And it just lingered on forever. It was so weird. Man, there's going to be probably like books written about this saga someday. It's very unusual. And the Twins ended up outbidding the Mets. It's not like the Mets just totally stepped away. They made an offer to them that was somewhat similar to the Twins. I think it was a shorter term, and the Twins outbid them. So, clearly the Mets are on another level of spending still. They're going to have the highest payroll in baseball by a ton. Speaking of revenue sharing, they're paying luxury tax. The Twins may have actually been able to afford Carlos Correa based on the revenue sharing that the Mets are paying. If you want to think about it that way, that's kind of a funny way to think about it. So, the Mets clearly still the biggest spenders in baseball, but in this one instance, okay, perfect. In this one instance, they won on this one. They won on this one, and it's a big deal. It's a big deal, and I know a lot of people again are trying to kind of spin negatives on it about his ankle or him being overpaid or these teams nobody wanting him, he's damaged goods or whatever. We'll get to it tomorrow. Again, we'll get to it tomorrow. But today it's all about poor Kyle Farmer, as Gabriel points out. So I will do that because I know that is a question on a lot of people's minds: is what is the domino effect? I broke it down here. I got another thing I put together here. So again, I'm going to put this up. Going to have the chat away for a little bit. Going to put this up and kind of just run through this breakdown. You guys let me know. Again, kind of the payroll. 2023 projected payroll is now 151. That was with it evenly distributed, so it might be like 154. It was 142 last year. So bumping up even before they do anything else. I do think they'll still do some things. Now, I don't know if they'll add payroll because, one of those things might be, say, trading Max Kepler. And if they don't, if they add a guy, maybe they trade him for somebody who's pretty cheap. And then they sign a guy for around to say, you know what I'm saying. They might not add a ton of payroll, but they're not done making moves. That's for sure. And then again, don't be anybody who's really concerned about this crippling the team's spending potential. Only Correa, Buxton, and Christian Vasquez, the catcher they signed this offseason, have guaranteed money beyond this upcoming season. So it's not like they have all this money that's tied up to all these guys. Every offseason, when we hit restart, they are going to once again have a payroll that's looking like, oh, look, we got spending space. And that's unusual. Not every team in baseball has that. Now, again, not every team in baseball is so focused on 1-year deals as the Twins. When you're only signing guys for 1 year, of course, you have payroll opening up every year. But here's sort of the breakdown. I think Kyle Farmer, I kind of put him first because he's obviously the guy most impacted by this. He moves out from potentially being the starting shortstop into a utility role. I can't imagine he's going to be too pleased about that because he's been a starting shortstop for so long with the Reds. Did not seem enthusiastic when they started to move him to third base this past season. But this is what he best fits at. On a good team, Kyle Farmer is going to be a bench guy. Kyle Farmer, I hate to break it to him if he's upset about this. You ain't an elite major league shortstop. He can play there. He's a legit shortstop. He has experience at second and third base as well. But right now he's a bench guy who crushes left-handed pitching, which is a nice asset for this team. As far as future, he does have another year of arbitration eligibility after this season. But as we know with guys like this with the Twins, they usually don't keep those guys in their final year. Like Gio Urshela, they traded away. Eddie Rosario, they non-tendered. I wouldn't be shocked if Kyle Farmer gets traded between now and opening day. It's not going to be like the Twins are going to be acquiring some kind of a great piece for him. But, I wouldn't be shocked if there's another team that's kind of hurting for some infield help, which the Twins don't appear to be, kind of comes knocking, and we have sort of a elongated IKF situation where the Twins trade for a guy and then turn around and trade him in the same offseason. Jorge Polanco, and I'm going to kind of mention these guys all together. Polanco, Arise, and Nick Gordon. Honestly, I don't think this has a massive impact on these three because they're impacting each other regardless of what's happening at shortstop. Carlos Correa coming in at shortstop doesn't really impact second base right now, especially. These guys are already kind of in a jam. And obviously they have Arise and Gordon in particular can play other positions. Polanco, he's going to be second baseman. All these guys might be in trade talks. I'm not going to say anybody's like guaranteed to be on the team, but I don't see Polanco really changing his much in the future. This is his last guaranteed year of his contract. He does have these options right now appear to be absolute slam dunks unless something crazy unforeseen happens, like he gets injured and it's like terrible. $10.5 million for next year, 2024. That is not this upcoming season, but the year after that, and then $12 million for the year after that. Very affordable, absolutely. He would be a very nice trade piece due to his very reasonable contracts, in my opinion. Luis Arise, I think kind of the same thing. Also don't think he's impacted too much by the signings. Most likely a first base DH with some second base mixed in anyway. The shortstop situation really wasn't going to impact him that much. He is under team control for 3 more years. Already a guy who's sort of been floated out there in trade rumors. I don't want to see him traded. I don't. I get it from a baseball standpoint. I can understand, but I think this dude, beyond just what he is as a ball player, I think he's a special guy. I do. And we're going to get a little sentimental. And I think there's some discussion there for Correa to talk about some of the extra things, but I think this is a guy who's really clearly liked by his teammates. He's kind of a little engine that could type personality, just keeps on plugging away, doesn't unfazed by anything. I think that's a really important kind of to the emotional identity of the team. So I want to see him stick around. Don't think the shortstop situation impacted him much. Nick Gordon, again, it's hard to see him playing much infield, but he wasn't going to be playing. The Twins just don't think he can play shortstop. I don't know. Maybe there was a chance, COVID really wrecked him physically. He lost a ton of weight when he got ill with that. Maybe there is a chance he's back kind of fully recovered. Now he's established as a major leaguer. I was thinking maybe this offseason, if nothing else happened, if it was down to Kyle Farmer, maybe they would finally give Nick Gordon a look at shortstop in spring training, like a sliver of possibility. Obviously, I don't think they're going to do that now. And he's blocked at second base by Polanco and Arise to some degree. He's been mostly playing outfield anyway, so I think that's probably going to continue for him. He has 5 more years of team control. And oh boy, I think, I do think Nick Gordon would probably be more valuable to another team than he would be to the Twins right now. It was really fun to see him blossom last year and play so well. Another guy, I'm not really looking to like run out of town or anything, but there's definitely a logjam at second base going on. And the corner outfield is too. We're not going to talk about that on here, but they have a lot of bats, that's for sure. Jose Miranda, he's going to get an opportunity to prove himself at third base. Maybe he sticks there. Maybe he ends up back at first base. Who knows? But it's something to consider with like, well, then you say, well, what happens to Arise if he moves back to first base? There's DH. There's still DH. And, there's always injuries. There's always injuries opening the door for guys. If the Twins end up having 10 good hitters, that's a great problem to have. But, I don't see it probably happening. Somebody's pretty much always going to be hurt or slumping or whatever. Royce Lewis, obviously this impacts him quite a bit. Not going to kind of downplay that, but, he's going to be out until July for this year. I think this is a decent development for him in that the Twins are not going to feel unnecessary pressure to rush him back sooner than he's going to be ready, which was a concern of mine. I mean, I think if we look at it with 2020 hindsight last year, it's pretty easy. It's pretty easy to second guess and think, man, did they push him too far too fast? last year. I'm going to take a real quick drink. So I think it's a nice situation that the Twins don't have that pressure to move him along quicker than he needs to. I also think he's good enough to play anywhere. He's a good enough athlete to play wherever, and he's played third base, second base, center field in the Arizona Fall League. He did a little bit coming up in the minors last year when the Twins were trying to figure out how to make it work for him and Carlos to coexist. Played a lot of third base in high school. So this is a guy who can play all over. He's got lots of years of team control. I would not be looking to move Royce Lewis because I think he could be a very special player and special guy for this organization. And again, I think he can play anywhere. That's not that abnormal of a player type these days to have a guy who, plays a ton of 2 or 3 positions. And I think Royce could absolutely do that. Byron Buxton, love him as much as I love him. It is nice to now be able to think of Royce Lewis as center field insurance. Now, 2 injury prone guys at one position makes you think, well, we better have another guy still around too. But, it's a nice depth option. A lot of places. You now have Royce Lewis, once he's healthy, as a pretty awesome insurance policy all around the diamond. I think that's going to be really fun. Brooks Lee, honestly, I personally didn't see him as a major league shortstop, but it is fair to point out he was just drafted out of college. Although he was really advanced and had access to a lot of advanced, coaching and really had a lot of opportunity probably to round out his game. Maybe with a full off season and, a spring training, maybe he could have rounded out some things and looked like a different. There was a point that most people didn't think Royce Lewis was going to be a shortstop, that was just not going to happen. And he proved them wrong. Perhaps Brooks Lee can do that. I don't want to say that it's not possible, but I think it was more likely he was not going to be a major league shortstop. I think he could be an awesome third baseman. I think he could be a great third. It's close. I don't think his range is good enough to be a shortstop. It's not completely clear that, he's not a short. It's not like Miguel Sano playing shortstop. Remember that when he was signed? It's not like that. It's not like that at all. It's like, you could see it and maybe he's athletic enough in his younger days for a year or two to stick at shortstop. And then as he loses a half step, he's got to move to third. But I think he could be a tremendous defensive third baseman. And again, he's got ages of these last 3 guys are prospects, haven't debuted, ages of service time ahead of them, team control. Edouard Julien, I think, he's best suited for first base, as I put in the end there. They only had him play second base last year, which I thought was kind of curious because the year before he'd played a lot of first, third base, second base, and left field. And I think he's kind of an intriguing guy in that mold of a multi-positional guy, but it's in the opposite sense of Royce Lewis. It's mainly we're kind of trying to hide him. He's not a complete butcher in the field. But he doesn't have a great arm. He doesn't have great range. He does make all the plays at second base. I will say that he clearly lacks range of like a regular major league second baseman. He's not going to get to balls that certain guys are. But that's a position where, range isn't as important as it is for like a shortstop, especially now that the shift is going to be banned to some degree. Shortstop is even more important. But it's hard to place him, but he can hit. He can absolutely hit. His approach is tremendous. He's absolutely a major league piece. This guy's on the 40-man roster now. We could see him on the Minnesota Twins next year in Edouard Julien. He maybe becomes, to me, the most clear trade bait at this time. And it's because his value's high. If you want to trade the guys whose value is low, you're not going to get anything for him. You want to trade the guy whose value is high, you're going to get a better return. And I think right now, especially with Carlos Correa in the fold, this team needs to be focused on adding to the major league roster. And even though I think Julien might have a good major league career ahead of him, we don't know that. And if we're trying to win in 2023, which I think the Twins should be, I think this guy is a very logical trade option. And that's not taking shots at him, as a prospect or as a potential. It's just sort of kind of looking at the situation and how many guys there are and just saying if somebody's got to go, that might be the most logical one. Austin Martin, I don't think he's a shortstop. We'll say, again, kind of the same thing with Brooks Lee. Maybe he's made strides this offseason that we haven't seen. Can't ever rule that out. That happens sometimes. Guys come back and, maybe they worked with a certain coach in the offseason or had a certain program and they look completely different. But he just doesn't look comfortable there. He has played some second base and center field in minors and has quite a bit of third base experience in college. I think to a lesser extent as to Royce Lewis, I think he can play anywhere except shortstop. I don't think Austin Martin is a shortstop. I think he can play anywhere else. I think if anything, he's kind of underrated at this point. But I do think if you would trade Austin Martin right now, you're trading him at basically below value. You're trading low on him. I don't think that would be a wise idea. But that is the rundown as I see it of the sort of fallout of the Correa signing. And, it shouldn't be too much a surprise that why would we think that this is some kind of huge impact? This guy was on the team last year. He's coming back to his job. So definitely the Twins have a lot of bats. It's kind of unfortunate that they're turning out, man. They're turning out these dudes. They're turning out these dudes who play corner outfield and third base or second base. There's so many guys, or end up at first base like Arise. They've produced a lot of those guys, and they have more kind of in the pipeline. But it's shortstops, center field, and catcher that they haven't. And what did we get? Buxton is on a long-term contract. That's a very reasonable. Carlos Correa is on a long-term contract that I think is very reasonable for him. And now Christian Vasquez is locked up for 3 years behind the plate. So, I don't think we usually think of the Twins as like a team that fixes its problems this way through free agency, but two big organizational holes. And I talked about it coming into the winter. I think everybody talked about it. Catcher and shortstop, maybe things would be different if Royce Lewis would have stayed healthy. Who knows? Maybe we're talking about Royce, Carlos handing the reins to Royce and Royce taking over at shortstop this year on opening day, and him playing shortstop for a decade. It might have been different, but I think at this point where things are, it is still, even though the Twins have apparently come up on top, physical pending physical, and signed Carlos Correa. It's clearly very difficult for the Twins to sign free agents. I think that is a takeaway from this regime in particular. They've done a good job. I've taken a lot of shots at these guys the last couple of years. I still think if they don't win a playoff game this year, they got to go. And there's nothing they can do from a transactional standpoint that's going to change my mind on that. If they can't win a playoff game this year, I think it's completely reasonable to be like, you know what, guys, you've had a pretty decent tenure here. This is the poll. So you got to pass, and you didn't reach that poll. We're going to go elsewhere. Even though I think they've made some good moves, even though I think their most recent drafts have been pretty good. We're in a spot where, things are the way they are because they haven't done as good of a job as they needed to on some other things. Again, anybody who missed the Buzz Killington disclaimer, you Buzz Killingtons, come back tomorrow. Okay, come back tomorrow. Leave us alone. We'll talk about more downside things. We'll entertain more negative talking points tomorrow. Okay, let us have this. Can we not take one day, Twins fans, Minnesota sports fans? Can we not take one day to try to enjoy something? Please. Twins just signed a free agent to a $200 million contract. Okay. Carlos Correa is one of the top 20 position players in all of baseball the last 5 years. We're not going to go there. No Buzz Killingtons. I'll just leave it at that. Okay. I'm not talking about Trevor Bauer. I talked about it this morning. It's just a no. That's it. I don't have anything else to say. I really don't. No to Trevor Bauer. I'm not interested in having him on the Twins at all. This team is in a really nice situation. I think they do need some other talent. I did discuss that in the Twins 5 Topics video from this morning, that I think they're in a nice position to try to add a bullpen piece. I like the projected bullpen. The projected bullpen is looking as good as it has in a long time. But just think how much better it would look with Andrew Chafin or our buddy Michael Fulmer back. My thing I always with the bullpen is one guy's going to be hurt. One guy's not going to be as good as you're expecting because the relievers are so up and down. So you can't look at what the projected bullpen is and go from there. You need more than that. Marlins trades, that's, it's certainly a team that stands out. I don't know. With any trades, it always depends on what you're giving up. And, if they're looking for major league pieces like Luis Arraez, let's just go right in. If Luis Arraez has to be involved in one of these trades, which is, it's not a unreasonable ask on those teams. If I'm the Marlins, I'm asking for a Luis Arraez or somebody like that. Probably. I don't want to do it because I want my path for the Twins right now is win in 2023. So again, it sort of goes back to that same conversation we had with like Edouard Julien. I much more rather trade prospects to get major league pieces. That is, the Twins need to transition into that stage. Last offseason, trading away Mitch Garver, trading away Josh Donaldson. Obviously, the money situation certainly worked out. That's looking like a good move. Trading away Ben Rortvedt he was catching depth. They traded away quite a bit of major league pieces. There's one I'm forgetting. Somebody else I'm forgetting too. Anyway, those sort of challenge trades that they've done. Sometimes when you just want to shake up a team, those make sense. And again, those worked out pretty good. Mitch Garver also got hurt, which unfortunately has just been sort of the story of his career. Love that dude. But I don't think the Twins should be trying to do those challenge trades. I think they should be trying to do more like the Sonny Gray trade, which was super aggressive for them to trade their most recent first-round draft pick for Sonny Gray. I think that kind of goes overshadowed sometimes. I think that was a really ballsy move on their part to try to improve the major league roster. And they got a lot of guys in this pitching staff that are in their final year of their contract. So it's like, man, let's see if we can make this happen. Let's see if we can get this team over the hump. Let's see if we can get this team a W in the playoffs, a playoff game victory. So, and they definitely could build a good roster without Luis Arraez, still a good lineup potentially. Especially if everybody plays healthy, you can envision like Alex Kirilloff stepping in at first base. Joey Gallo has played first base a decent amount. They've got other guys, Jose Miranda again. Maybe Kyle Farmer ends up playing quite a bit of third, and Miranda plays first instead. There's ways you can find the Twins being good without him, but I just would much rather not. Hey, we got one step at a time. One step at a time, Joe. Joe says playoff series. I'm with you. But we even just got to get to winning record. At this point, remember, we got to get to winning records. Got to get checked. Playoff appearances got to get checked, and then we got to win the playoff, and then we got to win the playoff series. Do that a few times, and then we get Wheaties boxes, I think is how it works. My memory is fading on what happens to your hands when you win the World Series. I think you just do this. I don't know. All right. Let's pull those, probably wrapping up. Pull those up again. Again, this is the breakdown of the Correa contract. This side on the left is the guaranteed side. The side on the right is the vesting options, how that all breaks down. And again, those are not player options. Those are vesting options. So if Correa basically gets a certain amount of playing time, if he stays healthy, essentially, they'll vest. Other than that, it's a team option. So the Twins can take or leave those. No opt-outs for Carlos Correa. Full no trade clause, no opt-outs. The annual breakdown in the first 6 years is different. It's not evenly distributed. It's slightly front-loaded. And again, big shout-out to Jeff Passan, Ken Rosenthal, Dan Hayes, John Heyman, Aaron Gleeman also of The Athletic with some reporting on that as well. what a wild situation to try to follow for those guys. I mean, I'm sure they were having quite a ride. And then again, we did discuss, if you missed it, we did discuss kind of the breakdown of how this impacts all the players. So you can always listen to that part on replay. But I got some more time to hang out. You guys have been having some good side discussions, which I love. That's one of the things I like about these. I think they're kind of an opportunity to get, for me to get some more stuff out there, but also for just community, for everybody to come in and hang out and chat and throw some ideas around, bounce some ideas. This is upside down. I don't want it that way. There we go. Let's see. Yeah, and Ryan pointed out, let me scroll. Oh, that's about as far as I'll go for right now. Yeah, Ryan points out, the future rotation has high potential. And I think that this is as good as it's been as far as the homegrown options, the internal prospecty type options, in quite some time. Louis Varland pitched pretty darn well in his brief time with the Twins last year. Kind of went overshadowed because, of course, we were all so disappointed with how the season was ending. But he pitched well. Mark. All right, Idaho. Twins territory. We're going to call it. It's Twins territory. We're extending out there today. Yeah, I mean, I when I did the live stream when the news broke, I think I was pretty much in shock, basically, still, and just like not even being able to comprehend that it actually happened. And again, pending physical. We would assume the Twins know what they're getting into, but there's no guarantees with these things. But yeah, pretty exciting day. Yeah, man, you can really imagine. As you can imagine, I think that Cleveland is probably still going to be projected to win the division. I think that's fair right now. But there are some really fun things that you can do. Like, what if Byron Buxton stays healthy? What if some of these young guys take a step? What if we get more of a representation from Tyler Mahle and Jorge Lopez, more of a performance like they had before the trade deadline than after it? You can play some of these games, and the bullpen has a high potential as well. There's some guys coming up in the minor leagues that could contribute. It seems like there's always somebody that you're not really. Luis Ariz is like the perfect example of that. Part of what made 2019 magical too, he was sort of mixed in there. You get this guy that really nobody was expecting to contribute to the major league team, and he comes up and is just so much fun to watch. Fills in wherever they're trying to get him. Somebody's going to do that probably next year for the Twins. Somebody we don't think is gonna. Yeah, a lot of people surprised. Absolutely, and it's one thing that, of course, we knew that they were trying to get him. It's not like the first time around. The first time around, my goodness, that was when they signed him last year. Shocking. Woke up to the news, just couldn't even believe it happened, kind of seemingly out of nowhere. This was definitely more of a slow burn, but, I definitely was not confident. Definitely not. Definitely would not have seen this coming, even, this morning. I literally this morning, I published a video where I was like, he's going to be Met, whatever. Is Correa's contract? Man, that's the question, isn't it? That's when we can kind of all sort of relax into this a bit more. But again, I think the Twins know what they're getting into here. I mean, I don't know, unless like Carlos had some kind of like dirt bike accident that he's not telling anybody about. I don't know. You never know. But it's not officially official. I want to make that clear. That's why I keep saying physical pending. We don't have pen to paper yet. I think he's taking his physical today, though. So, who's coming off the 40 man? They made another move today. That's maybe again one we're gonna table. That's a valid question. It's a good one because they already you know what, they already removed Mark Contreras, so they might have had a spot. They might have had it because that was who I was thinking would get removed, but he got removed a couple days ago, and I don't know if it was to make room for anybody. They might have had a spot open. Yeah, I mean, I love Arise. I don't want him to trade him, but he is under contract for 3 more years. He's under that. I mean, that's a pretty decent amount. I don't know that at the same time, I don't want him to trade him. I don't know that they need to be all that motivated to sign him to a long-term contract, to be honest, since they have him for so much longer. They can kind of wait and see. And he's gotten bad knees. You know, that's a concern with him. If they did, I certainly wouldn't be upset about it. We'll put it that way. Question about next moves. I think, we dug deep into kind of the roster impact, but as far as this goes, I think the Twins certainly are going to want to have the Max Kepler timeline's got to be coming up here. I don't think they want to drag this out with Max. I would be surprised if Kepler reports to spring training. I think they'll have him traded by then. What they're going to get from, I don't know. It's so hard to say. It's so hard to say. Some people, and I think this could apply to teams. Some people think, pretty highly of Max Kepler, and there's a lot of metrics you can look at that make him look pretty good. I just don't see it as much. I don't think right field is all that. You got to hit if you're playing right field. I know he's a great defensive right fielder, brings a lot of value on the base paths. Hits the ball. His baseball savant slider page looks gorgeous. Does a lot of things well. But at the end of the day, his numbers, his offensive output, just is not what I'm looking for a corner outfielder. And I don't know. Are there teams out there that are going to prioritize some of the stuff he does well, and maybe believe that, the shift stuff can help him? I don't care. Honestly, I do not think that's going to make that big of an impact. I don't. It's going to be some more singles. And I'm talking about this from an individual hitter standpoint. The game's I do think it's going to be better for the game. I think the game's going to be more watchable. I would not target or stay away from anybody. I would not value any hitters differently based off of the shift change. You're only going to have a few more singles from a guy. It's just not going to, he's not going to add that much more value. So I don't know if you can find a team that really wants a awesome defensive right fielder and believes that the shift stuff is going to be a big deal for him. Maybe they can get something really nice for Max, but I've kind of been assuming it's going to be pretty underwhelming, maybe even just a prospect to get him moved. Somebody who's maybe in the high minors, who again could be a potential contributor toward the end of this year, kind of filling out some major league depth. I could be completely wrong. It's the two positions is corner outfield, which you've touched on those two guys. It's really hard to justify having Alex Kirilloff, Trevor Larnach, and Matt Wallner. And then you throw Joey Gallo into that mix, and it's really what? I don't know. I don't know how they can make sense of keeping all 4 of those guys. So yeah, I definitely think those are obvious names. But then kind of as we talked about, second base is the other one. Because, I think probably Austin Martin is a second baseman. I don't think he's that far off from being a major leaguer, actually. But anyway, Edward Julian is obviously a second baseman. He's already on the 40-man. There's Nick Gordon. There's Jorge Polanco. There's Luis Arraez. I think they could trade somebody else out of that mix as well. Yeah, Shayla makes a good point too. The new head trainer, Papa Resta. I forgot his first name. but its last name is Paparesta. They did get a new trainer that kind of went a little bit under the radar, as you know, there's not like a MLB trainerrumors.com that has all the, training staffs listed out and, who the free agents are. But this is a guy who's been a longtime trainer of the Oakland A's, has apparently a very good, again, I don't know anything about trainers. Okay. But apparently this guy has a lot of experience with that, which I think is a plus, and he has a very good reputation. So, and I think this is one of those situations with the Twins where you don't need to know a lot. If you've been about trainers in particular, if you've been paying attention to the Twins and how many injuries they've had, you can just sort of say, oh, they got a new trainer, good move. And not even really, we'll see. Hopefully it works out great. That is another sort of reason to be optimistic. Yeah, and talking Twins baseball. This is a newer Twins channel you guys should check out. Very high production value, very impressive editing on this channel. Lots of work goes into this channel, very evident. But yeah, this is another good point. This is great. We're getting into it. I think the no Buzz Killington's rule, that might be a permanent rule for talking to Twins ticket, at least. Like, I'll throw down on the doom and gloom. I'll throw down on the doom and gloom sometimes, but we got to have spaces. We got to have more spaces as Twins fans, I feel like, where we can hang out, have it be a little looser, maybe have it more positive. That's all I'm saying. And I know I'm maybe not the perfect person to bring that to the table, but maybe we'll rename the show Twins Ticket and then be like, no Buzz Killingtons allowed. Stay out, Buzz Killingtons. This is I'm having more fun with this. Yeah, we talked about the trainer with Christian Vasquez. That's a great point. It could having a guy who another World Series champion. Oh, by the way, Christian Vasquez. I'm pretty sure he caught a no-hitter in the combined no-hitter in the World Series this year. He has 2 World Series rings, and a veteran guy really known for working with pitching. I think that is going to be huge. So different from Gary Sanchez, who actually did a better job, I think, catching than a lot of people. Not that he did a good job. It was more like a good job for Gary Sanchez. I think he clearly put in a lot of work to improve. But I think just Christian Vasquez is a good catcher. He's a good catcher, good defensive catcher, good leadership guy. Now you have Correa, you have Vasquez. These guys are going to be with the team long term. The Juice is saying, I just watched the F for the off-season one. Exactly. That was a pre-recorded video, man. That wasn't Twins Ticket. That wasn't the Buzz Killington no zone, okay? You got to realize this. It's going to be different. 2 different things from now on. Yeah, that's the other thing about Carlos Correa. All the stuff that he brings to the team beyond just the production that he brings to the player. And that is... It was amazing. What guy who comes on this short-term deal basically walks into the organization and wants to know all this stuff and develops relationships with the front office and the manager and wants to be a leader and kind of takes that part of the clubhouse when he didn't even know if he's going to be around the next year. Imagine how much more that is going to develop now that basically the Twins and Correa were dating last year. They're hitched up. They're married now, pending physical. They are married now. And just imagine how much more active he's going to be, how much more of an impact he's going to be in that regard. Now that he knows this is a place where he has roots down. It's not just a 1-year stop until whatever's next. He's going to be around long term. And again, I always mention that from the outside looking in, it's always hard to sort of say how much to value that stuff. I do think sometimes that stuff can be overblown, depending on the situations. But I think if you paid attention, it's pretty clear that his teammates like him. It's pretty clear that everybody, I saw lots of Twins players had social media posts being pretty damn excited that he was coming back. So I think he's a popular guy in that clubhouse. Obviously a well-known entity around the league. This really puts the Twins' identity together. They signed Carlos Correa to a $200 million contract. You're getting a marquee name. You're getting a very recognizable, identifiable player. That's a big deal beyond just marketing. That's part of the value to the Twins, though. They have a very marketable guy, but that also is a marketable thing that you can go to in free agency, or signing a guy to an extension. Hey, we got Buxton and Correa here long term. We're trying to do things. We're an organization that's trying to build something here, and we're also going to treat you good. I mentioned that, like, if there's anything with the Correa saga, it's like maybe he should have never tried to leave the Twins. Can't fault the guy for trying to make money. Can't fault the guy for trying to take the best offer. Absolutely. Is what it is. Those other teams offered him more money originally. Can't be happy about that. Yeah, there's another channel to check out if you like gaming. Right there. Twins fan. Toonie. Streamer. Probably could teach me some stuff about streaming as well, I'm sure. Calls an epic game. Yeah, lots more positivity on the Vasquez signing. Is Derek Falvey secretly actually an excellent GM? I think the funny thing is, I think the thing I struggle with them a bit is the ways that I think that you need to build a successful Twins team. I think they've not been doing a very great job at. They've had some successes, and that's mostly drafting and developing. They've certainly had some successes, and we're starting to see. I think actually we're going to learn a lot about that this coming season because we have all these young guys that are kind of here on the verge that they've drafted and developed. How are they going to play out? But they've done. You got to give this guy credit, Derek Falvey, for managing the payroll, getting the Pohlads to spend more every year, pretty much, and spend more than they've ever spent. They're in the middle of the pack in payroll. And I know, like, we're not going to throw some kind of parade for the Twins being like 15th, 16th in payroll or whatever. But you gotta remember, like, this team was literally 29th, 30th in payroll year after year after year at one point. Yes, the stadium, we were all told the stadium was going to bring more payroll. So this is what we should have expected all along. So I don't want to give them like an extra cookie just for spending money. I want to see them spend more money, but I do think Derek Falvey's done a good job of managing the money side and getting it spent now that this is done, pending physical. We'll see. Again, they're managing things in a, building through free agency. That's really difficult to do. That's really hard to do. That not many teams really do it or do it well. That's why the tanking got so popular. Tank for a few years, try to build up your farm system because you can't just buy a roster. You can't just go into free agency every single year and have to buy stuff. And we've seen it from the Twins. We've seen how difficult it is because you go from 2019 and then to a little bit lesser extent 2020 to all of a sudden 2021, shit just falls apart. If you miss that badly in your free agent class when you're building through free agency that much year to year, all these 1-year contracts, if you're doing an all right job, you can kind of keep it rolling. You have a bad year with that, the bottom falls out. And that's what we saw definitely in 2021. So it's a difficult, they're operating on a high degree of difficulty. I don't think it's the best overall way to be operating, but is Derek Falvey secretly a good GM? That's a valid question. I think I saw somewhere, and again, speaking of the no buzz Killingtons, some non-Twins source, so somebody that probably follows the league as a whole closer than I would, and probably most Twins fans would, we'll see, rated them in the top half of front offices in all of baseball. So no, not the worst ever. So I guess we'll leave it at that. Is Derek Falvey secretly not the worst ever? That's gotta reel that in. Gotta reel it in. No Buzz Killington. No Buzz Killington. Get that back in there. What metric? Most measurable athleticism metrics, exit velocity. I think he's got a good exit velo. Kepler. He's I think he's fast. He is outfield range is tremendous. Almost anything you pull up. Go onto his Baseball Savant page. I'm not going to pull up right now. Almost anything you pull up on his Baseball Savant page looks good. The results have been terrible for a few years now, which is why I'm like, I don't see how he's going to fetch a huge return. Yeah, I'm not saying that the Twins absolutely should be shopping him. Absolutely. Yeah, Austin Martin, he's played quite a bit of center field in the minors. He's another guy that kind of conveniently works into that. Like, hey, this is a guy who could also be Buxton insurance. It's nice to have some of those guys who can play multiple positions, potentially like Royce Lewis now, potentially like Austin Martin, potentially, who are great athletes who can play center field. It's nice that you don't have to devote a specific roster spot to a backup center fielder in that case. They can play some infield if you need them to. They can play some corner outfield if you need them to. Yes. There we go. Scott. Yeah. There's a lot of ways. I mean, if you want to, and I've talked about this a lot in the pursuit of Correa to sort of riff off of your comment here. If you only want to sign guys to contracts that make 100% sense, that are logical, that you don't feel any kind of anxiety that I might be overpaying this guy, you're not going to sign anybody ever. You're never going to sign anybody ever. No one's going to sign. There's always going to be another team that's going to be more willing to take the risk, and you're never going to sign anybody good. So, yes, absolutely. This is a great signing. Buzz Killington, safe space. Scott gets it. Lots of trade questions, and it is the hardest thing to analyze. It's hard to say who's available, and what it would take. It's easier for me to say, okay, let's take a look at the Twins and who am I willing to trade, and then in that scenario, like, okay, Derek Falvey, secret not bad GM, go out and see what you can get for this guy, and if that makes sense. Is it? I mean, I haven't been looking around. If it's official and the pen is to paper, somebody let me know. But I believe we are still in pending physical sign. I should have like a flag system to where I'll have a flag going, and then we'll change the flag when maybe I'll get something set up back here. If this drags on, this might if this off season for Correa is anything, this will be, maybe like maybe Valentine's Day they'll have it signed. Do you think? Oh, that was a little Buzz Killington-y. Sorry. Yeah, man. And then Noah here kind of reminds me, like I talked about, that's sort of that's the aim. That's got to be the aim. It's got to be the aim. And I wish they would talk about it. A lot of teams don't, get into specifics, whatever. I wish they would talk about how much that is killing them, because it should be. And I get that it's not all on the current front office. It's obviously not all on the current players, this losing streak in the playoffs, but that's got to be made a priority. And that's Carlos Correa. His postseason numbers are incredible. And it's not like, oh, yeah, he's played in 2 series and he had some good games. He has a huge offseason resume of being a very good postseason player. So that was something I talked about when they originally signed him. That's kind of gotten lost after having him and having such a bad season. He didn't make it to the playoffs. We didn't get to see that. But he has been a huge postseason performer in his days for the Astros. Yeah, and I would agree with Dave too. It was hard. It was really hard to sort of fully embrace Correa, kind of knowing that it was more than likely he was going to opt out and go to greener pastures or whatever. But now we got him, man. This is our dude. He's going to be around for 6 years. There's a lot about this guy's game that I love. I love watching this dude throw. Like, unhealthy. Like, I get the feels when I see Carlos Correa throw a baseball across the diamond, you guys. It's something special. His arm is unbelievable. Love watching him throw. Yeah, and him and Miranda being good buds. Yeah, that's definitely something that helps. I think him and Christian Vasquez also are buds. Maybe not as close. They were never teammates. Nope. I was about to say, because I know almost got mixed up there because Vasquez was an Astro at the end of last year, but of course Correa wasn't there anymore. Yeah, and I think he developed some relationships with some of the other guys too. Him and Buxton seemed to get along really nice. He really did. I think he absolutely played up some of the stuff. Correa absolutely played up some of the Minnesota stuff. He's taking a page out of Scott Boras. Really kind of putting on the ham and talking about Juicy Lucy's and the State Fair and all that. That was putting it on, way over the top. But I think it's pretty clear, if he didn't enjoy it here, he wouldn't have been open to coming and signing this deal. He would have signed with the Mets because even though the Twins beat their offer, it's not like the Mets offer, the last one that was reported. I might be a little bit behind since we've been doing this a while. So maybe some more news has come out, but it's not like the Mets last offer was that much out of the Twins range that he wouldn't have accepted it. And been, that he would have gone to a less desirable ending point. And I tell you what, man, I am excited to see what this process does to Carlos Correa. This dude is going to be playing with a FU attitude. He's going to be playing with a, y'all didn't think I could do this. Y'all thought I was going to break down. You guys didn't want to pay me like the premium player I am. Take this. I think motivation isn't always everything, but this dude is going to want to kill these teams and make these front offices look like idiots and make everyone look dumb for passing on him. This dude is a former first overall pick, a guy who debuted in the majors as a 20-year-old, a World Series champion. I think a lot of Twins territory, some of that identity maybe is a little bit soiled because he came here, he was here, and the Twins lost. They had a losing record. So we have not seen that sort of unbelievable postseason performer that he's been. And we don't have that history with him, but this dude is the dude. And I think he carries himself that way. And again, I think he's going to feel disrespected by this whole process and want to go out and make everybody look dumb, but also want to go out and make the Twins look smart. Both. Yeah, that's a good point. They'll probably announce it early tomorrow morning or late tonight. Officially. And I should mention too, you may notice we're back in. If you have followed the channel for longer than a season, we're back in Twins ticket atmosphere. This sort of setup with the nice chat overlay and all these little buttons and things I can pull up, little graphics that we have, and all this fun stuff. This live stream, this show, and going forward is brought to you by the members of the channel. Thank you all so much for supporting the channel. This stuff does cost some money. It's not completely prohibitive or anything like that, but having some backup, having some extra support, having you guys backing me up makes me able to invest in this and buy stuff, buy microphones and cameras and lights and iPads and whatever else. So I can goof off on here for an hour and say pending physical and no Buzz Killingtons and whatever else. So thanks for supporting the channel. Thank you for helping make this happen. Thank you for hanging out to everybody. Thanks for hanging out, of course. We got, I think, like 130 some people here. That's awesome. I think the starting pitching on this team is better than people give it credit for. Obviously, if we look around the league, I would agree that, there are certainly top of the rotations on some other teams that are pretty nasty when you look at them. Some teams have some pretty scary rotations, and the Twins do not. But I think this rotation is a lot better than most people give it credit for. I don't even have Twitter up, man. So I'm missing, if there's stuff going on, you guys are going to have to let me know. Well, we're wrapping up the stream here. I mean it this time. I know I said that like 15 minutes ago, but hey, super chat. Thank you so much. Twins chances to win the World Series in the next 6 years. I mean, it's 6 years. There's 30 teams. I just don't, that's not how I process or enjoy baseball, to be honest with you. I'm just going to be honest. I think that this is their chances went up because I think not, and it's not just Correa. I really do think that once you make a move like this, it signals to the player, the base of the players, that this is a destination. This is a legit place you can come and try to win. And the Twins have been trying to establish that for a while, but until you kind of make a move like this, until you make a statement like this, until you get a marquee player like this, long term, I think most guys are kind of look at you as like maybe a stop off or end of the career type of thing. I think this really helps. And if you think about it, other teams that have kind of come from where the Twins are now out of that, like the San Diego Padres, and they're way above the Twins in payroll, way above now. But, if the Twins kind of are trying to envision themselves in that same kind of path of, it's going to be tiers. You don't just do it all in one. It's kind of a multi-step process. And now next off season, when they're coming out and they're reaching out to free agents, all of a sudden they're going to get some more calls answered. All of a sudden, they're going to get some more calls. All of a sudden, agents are going to be wanting to fly their guys in. I really think that is a big-time side impact of them signing Correa pending physical. I don't bet either, so I don't know what odds to give you. I'm sorry. I totally did not answer that question. And again, I'm just in let's win a playoff game. Let's get over 500. Let's get in the playoffs. Let's win a playoff game. Sorry, that's my North Star right now. Correa does have, I would say, the front office isn't going to, and ownership, maybe more importantly, ownership, isn't going to do anything just because Carlos Correa tells them to. But Carlos Correa does maintain, hey, thanks again for the super chat, Gabriel. Carlos Correa does maintain a good relationship with those guys. And they know that he's kind of a great bridge between, what they're trying to do and what the scouting department is trying to do and what the clubhouse and Rocco Baldelli and what they're trying to do on the field. And Carlos Correa didn't come here to lose. This is a guy who's had a ton of success over his career. He wants to be a winner. He turned down a long-term deal from the Detroit Tigers last offseason because he didn't want to lose. So this is a dude who doesn't want to lose. Absolutely. So he's going to be, he's going to be getting in their ear about, trying to improve teams and get better and pushing his teammates to get better too, Yeah, man. If you want odds, if you want World Series odds, you're barking up the wrong tree. We should be asking Shayla what the odds are that the Twins win a World Series. So again, a lot of you guys out there are a lot better at predicting stuff than I am. My predictions are usually terrible. I did predict the Twins' record this season, but I got it complete opposite. I thought they were going to be really good. Or no. I thought they were going to sell at the deadline is what it was. I thought they're going to be good and maintain that, but kind of like being like a wild card or one spot out behind the White Sox, again, another wrong one, and then they would sell at the deadline. But of course they did the opposite, but somehow still ended. I got the number right, I guess. And if I would have put a bet down, I suppose I would have won money, but whatever. Oh, that's a good point, Chris saying. I got to check my DMs for Derek Falvey. Tell me it's official. No, I don't think he's going to be DMing me. I think it's more likely Thad Levine's like trolling me on his burner account. That might be true. Making fun of me. I don't think I'm getting any DMs from the Twins anytime soon. Man, all I got to say about this one, there's literal twins. Guys, Howard, this is absurd. There's literal twins playing baseball on the same team now. Taylor Rogers going to be pitching with his brother for the Giants. I guess they're both tall, though. They are both tall, so Giants make some sense. But there's literal twins, but they're not on the Minnesota Twins. There should be a rule. If there are literal twin brothers in the Major League Baseball, they automatically, I don't care what team, you drafted them, whatever. You knew the clause. You knew what you were getting yourself into. If he makes the major leagues, goes directly to the Twins, both of them. Lifetime contracts. It's absurd. What are we teaching these children? Anyway. Yes, absolutely. Hungry Carlos is a good Carlos. Hungry Carlos. Oh, yeah. Man, I hope so. Man, I hope this is the year they win a playoff game. It's got to be. Again, like I said, it's got to be for me to continue to support Derek Falvey and Thad Levine running the show. They've done some good stuff. This is a big deal today. This is a big deal, man. This is a big deal. We got to get that done. And, hopefully there's more beyond that. I know there was a mention, that Twins fans need to expect more from the team. That's fine. Expect more than that, but I don't know. I don't know what that really means ever though, but whatever. What are you going to do? What are you going to, what are you going to like show up to Derek Falvey's office with like a picket line and signs? Like, we want wins. I mean, the Target Field's been pretty empty of late when I've gone. So I think fans are doing decent job of trying to demand more from the team. I'll put it that way. I don't think this team is getting like blindly supported and people are just pleased to be where they've been. So I don't know. That's every comment I have. I don't know why anybody's here asking me questions. I'm falling behind though. I don't want to leave until we kind of hammer some of more of these out though. So I'll keep hanging out. Andrew McCutchen would be a great signing. I would love Andrew McCutchen. I love him. Been a big fan of his for a long time. I think anybody who's anywhere familiar with Andrew McCutchen loves the guy. He's just so much fun, just king of vibes. I think it would be another great clubhouse addition. I also think as a right-handed hitting outfielder, he makes sense. And you know what? He's another guy. That's the thing. There's a great example. And we're kind of over the short-term 1-year deals for Twins guys, but there's kind of two class of those guys. And there's the guys that are kind of, there's guys who are kind of filler, and then there's guys who are a little step above, and they have a little bit more of a call on where they want to go. And if you're Andrew McCutchen, you're getting the end of your career. You want to win. I mean, everybody wants to win, but especially when you're getting to the end of your career, you're probably going to prioritize winning over making. If you got money, if you've made a good amount of money in your career, if it's a couple $1 million here or there, that's a lot of money. Man, it's a lot of money, but to a professional baseball player, I think you would prioritize winning over a couple extra $1 million. And I think Andrew McCutchen, he's certainly not the player that he was. He'll have a lot of teams after him still. And, all of a sudden, if the Twins have been, I don't think there's been any reports that they've been interested in him specifically, but let's just say if the Twins have been kind of, floating that out to his agent and he's been like, let's see if anybody else comes around. All of a sudden this happens. They get Carlos Correa back. He's thinking, you know what? Maybe answer that call. Maybe let's talk to those guys. And I think that's the kind of thing that really does. It's such a far-reaching impact potentially, this signing on a lot of different levels, beyond just what Correa brings to the table on the field. Oh, that's a good one. Ooh, more comfortable with trading Brooks Lee or Royce Lewis. Oh my goodness. I mean, we'd have to kind of assume. Let's assume that it's at the trade deadline because right now Royce Lewis is hurt. Let's say Royce Lewis comes back in early July. He comes back a little bit earlier than expected, and he is looking like the guy that he was looking like last year. To make this let's make this extra interesting. I still have Royce as my number one prospect over Brooks Lee. I think I would say more comfortable trading Brooks Lee than Royce Lewis. Man, I don't feel. Oh, do I have that wrong? Should I have Brooks Lee number one? Oh, I don't feel good saying that. It's a good question. Hopefully neither. But like I said, I do think the Twins are in a place right now where they should be trading prospects instead of. It's hard. It's hard when you really closely follow the minor league system too. But as much as I love the prospects and following the minor league system and enjoy watching those guys play and following their careers, at the end of the day, it doesn't mean anything. It's all about success at the major league level. Obviously, those prospects can develop into that success at the major league level. But I'm definitely more likely to say like, man, get the major league team. Get the major league team scary, trade the prospects. Because it's all about trying to win at the major league level. And of course, there's certain cycles and certain years and certain situations where it doesn't make any sense to do that if you don't have a shot. But man, the AL Central, it's just right there for the taking, and nobody seems to want it. I mean, Cleveland signed Josh Bell, switch hitting first baseman. I like that signing. That's a great signing for them. But that's I think that's all they've done. And they already had because they've developed well and they've drafted well. They already have a pretty nice foundation of a team. But the division's right there. I mean, so they could do so much more. Chicago, and really that's been the story of their kind of run atop the division, which ended last year, is that, man, they've got all these guys, but there are a couple pieces they're just completely ignoring. They're just not, for whatever reason, not addressing a lot of needs, and not just going that extra couple steps. I would love to see, man, it would be great just to see the Twins go, we're going to just take this division and shove it in your face for 5 years. They could do that, man. They could do that. And I know success in the AL Central is a lot different than success outside the AL Central, but that'd still be cool as hell, man. Now, coming off of a losing year, man, you can't tell me that doesn't get you excited. I don't care. You want higher expectations, that's fine. But man, it's only the AL Central. I'll take crushing everyone in the AL Central for 5 years. I'd love that. No complaints on my end. Miguel Sano, whatever happened to that guy? He's a free agent. I don't think the Twins, right-handed hitter. I don't think the Twins should be looking for a reunion, but he's still out there. I haven't seen really any rumors. He's fairly young for free agent. Not really interested on the Twins. Franmil Reyes. No, I haven't. Franmil Reyes, it was kind of weird that the Cleveland ran him out of there last year. It kind of made me scratch my head on what. I don't think they really got anything for him. I think, didn't they? They basically just got rid of him last year. And I don't know what was going on there. A guy who's had some success in the past, but didn't really play well last year. Again, not a guy who I kind of question whether he's a target that makes a ton of sense. Yeah. Kaylee. Why Aaron Judge. Yankees. Jets guy's a giant. Guy's a literal giant. Someone needs to step in. Manfred. It's Manfred. Again, Manfred. What is he doing? Ruining the game. I mean, if there was a literal Marlin that could play baseball, who you think he'd be playing for the Cubs? What's happening, man? January. Yeah, man, it's hard to win a playoff game in January. Yep. Oh, yes, we made it to trying to find knockoff cheap New Jerseys. I haven't been on the lookout for those, but I have seen some of the underbelly of knockoff Twins jersey hunters. And I think it's tough out there, man. I think the only stuff that's out there right now is the super expensive authentic stuff. I'm not really in the market to get one of the new jerseys, but that is what I've seen thus far. Opinions on trading away Nick Gordon. I think that would it might be best for him, to be honest with you. Again, I really enjoyed watching him come together this past season. He played great, man. He played great. I just don't know that he makes that much sense on this team compared to, he's a guy that, man, but again, back to that thing where I'd rather not have them trade away major league guys. Man, this the Joey Gallo signing is just so weird. So weird. We already talked about that when it happened. It hasn't made any more sense to me. I imagine it will when they make a trade, but it's like signing a guy to just make a trade to make it make sense. And I like Joey Gallo. I know a lot of people just hate him because of the way he plays. Tons of strikeouts, super low batting average. We just got out of Miguel Sano. So I feel for those people. I feel for those people that were so excited to be getting away from Miguel Sano. And you go right into Joey Gallo. I can deal with it if it is, if he his some of his really good seasons. I'll take them. If you got low batting average, you got a bunch of strikeouts, but if you're like a 4-win player, fine by me. But the bottom is kind of scary when it's not going well. It's really not going well. He's very streaky and just didn't fit. Buzz Killington. Somebody's got to warn me on. We need like a official emoji that you guys can throw out there when I'm drifting into Buzz Killington mode. It's not for today. We'll get back on that tomorrow if we can. All right, I think I caught up. Yeah. Yeah, and I mean, this is part of why I think, when we look at things and I get all those questions about what happens to this guy, what happens to that guy, and then we kind of play this, well, they got extra guys here. What happens when like literally everybody gets injured? And don't say that doesn't happen. It did. It happened. We all saw it happen. So that's when I get a little bit kind of like, ooh, I want them to make some other improvements. I want them to, and the free agent market doesn't have a ton left. So that leaves trades. They definitely have some extra guys, places. Nick Gordon is out of options, so it's not like you can send him to the minor leagues. Some of those other guys have options, though. But Papa Resta, maybe that's what we need to do. We need to buy in. We need to accept Papa Resta as the man, this new trainer. He's going to keep everybody healthy. 0 DL stints. Perfect. He's going to pitch a perfect game. That would be something. There we go. I don't know how to set this up. Oh, not that one. Sorry. Gordon can pitch too. That's awesome. He can. Good point, Glenn. That's a good point. Yeah, I've got a lot of buttons and things that I can do on here. I don't see the electroshock button for Buzz Killington Drift. We'll work on that next time. We'll do this again. I am going to wrap up. Thanks everybody for hanging out. Again, thank you so much to the channel members for helping make this happen. This live stream was brought to you by the channel members. Enjoyed this, had a ton of fun. I really appreciate you hanging out. We will absolutely be doing more of these live streams. So be on the lookout. Twins ticket. When you see the Twins ticket, the live stream's coming. That's the tagline of the show. We're just going to tell you how it works. Thanks for hanging out. We'll talk again soon. Carlos Correa, Betting Physical.